So if you don't know about Rick's podcast, it's hugely popular, social media inside social media podcast. Aside from that, Rick is a Facebook genius. In fact, we just had a meeting just 3 days ago, and he just blew my mind with some really awesome Facebook strategies. And he's, in fact, one of our EasyWebinar customers who's using Facebook ads to drive traffic into his automated webinars every single day. And today we want to share with you some of those stats.
One of the biggest wins I've had this year is using Facebook ads to, like you mentioned, Casey, drive into EasyWebinar, where I'm automating so I have a couple of different courses. So I have a beginner's course, and then I have a more intermediate to advanced course. Now for the beginner's course, I have a webinar that I use Facebook ads every single day to drive into an automated webinar. And the reason that I decided to do that was because I wanted to be able to reach as many people as possible. I really wanted to be able to scale helping as many people as possible. And I figured that doing an automated streaming webinar would be the best way to do that. And yeah, so I'm running ads every single day. The funnel sort of looks like ads into the webinar. I sell on the webinar. It's normally a $197 course, but on the webinar it's a $97 course. And then there's an email follow-up sequence after that, and then that gets them into moving towards my intermediate to or advanced course. So that whole funnel and that whole strategy has worked really, really well for me this year.
What are some of the stats that you're seeing with your Facebook ads running into EasyWebinar? What right now is your cost per lead? And for those that don't know Facebook, when you're paying for an ad, there's a cost per lead, and then there's obviously an ROI that you can have potentially on that lead. So Rick, what kind of conversions are you seeing? What kind of results are you getting on your cost per lead right now?
I'm at around I just checked this morning, and one of the things that I teach in my more intermediate to advanced course is that you really don't have to, once you get things dialed in, you don't have to spend a whole lot of time on your ads. I mean, on a daily basis. I literally go in, check things out. I'm in there for 2 minutes, and then I'm out. Unless I see some sort of glaring issue staring back at me that I need to address, I'm in there and out. And so I checked things this morning. I'm at about a $2 cost per lead. Sort of across the board, which I'm pretty happy with. My ROI, so I'm at about 166% ROI on what I'm spending on the ads compared to sales. And so I also have that down to what my cost per I think it's cost per registrant is. Yeah, the cost per registrant. So what that number gives me is what I can spend up to on my Facebook ads cost per lead. So if I'm getting about a $2 cost per lead on Facebook, and then my cost per registrant from all the stats is, let's just call it $5, where I have a big wiggle room here that I can play around with in my ads while I'm being profitable. So I track everything. I track all the numbers as far as what my cost per lead is, how many leads I'm getting per day. So the daily registrants to the webinars, how many people show up, how long they stay on the webinar, and that all helps me inform these decisions on, okay, do I have to increase my ad spend? Do I need to do a better job on the webinar itself? Obviously, I'm tracking how many sales we get. All that data allows me to say, guide me in the decision-making process as far as
know which parts to tweak.
Exactly. So if I know that people are dropping off on the webinar, at around the 50% mark, I would have to go to the webinar and figure out, all right, what's happening at that point in the webinar that's causing them to drop off. Right. Perfect example, and I don't have the exact number right here, but so about 2 weeks ago, I was noticing that a pretty high percentage. Now, I was tracking things on a different platform up through October, I think it was. So I had several months of data to look at. And when I restarted things at the end of October, early November, I noticed that people were not staying on as long as I wanted them to compared to my previous stats. And so by knowing that information, I was able to go back and make some changes to the webinar. And now that percentage has greatly increased for the number of people that are actually staying on towards the end of the webinar.
What specific things, if I can ask, did you kind of tweak in the webinar? that you noticed?
Someone asked me that yesterday, and I couldn't remember exactly what it was. But I know that I added more value. I felt like it was at some points in the webinar, it kind of dragged on a little bit, and I get constant feedback about how much value I offer and provide in the webinar. And I'm not just saying this, but I actually have thought about, all right, maybe I need to dial it back a little bit, because I'm giving away just too much information in there, and it could be overload for people. So
that's a very valid thing to say, and in fact, I appreciate that you said that. Not to interrupt you, but
yeah.
That's something that a lot of our community asks: how much value, how much content should they give? To where if they give too much value, I'm someone who's done this before, where I gave too much content and it was overwhelming. They loved it, but it was overwhelming. They had to focus so much on that content that they didn't necessarily take the urgency to buy.
Right. Exactly.
So
exactly.
I appreciate that you said that.
Yeah, so that was one of the things I definitely looked at, and I also added in, and I forget the term that we all use to describe this. I forget what your open hooks, basically, like where you're introducing something or introducing a concept or a topic or something that's going to pique somebody's interest and let them know that we're going to get to that in the next coming up here. So I did a little bit more of that as well. And
I see. You created the anticipation, what was going to be coming up.
Yeah, exactly. I also shortened the sales portion of the webinar as well, which has worked. I've noticed an increase in sales since I made the change. And I apologize, I don't have the exact specifics on what else I did to it, but it was the length of the overall webinar maybe dropped 5 minutes. So it wasn't a huge drastic change to it, but enough so that I've seen an increase in the percentage. So I'm tracking up to 80% and then 80% to the end of the webinar. So that 80% to the end of the webinar, which is when the sales pitch is that that number has increased. So meaning the number of people that are reaching that 80+% of the webinar has increased. So it's working right now. I'm always tweaking though. I'm always watching those numbers and making those decisions, like I mentioned before, based on what the data is telling me. To what do I need to make changes to?
Can I ask you what the conversion rates are?
Oh, and the registration? I'm anywhere between 30 to about 45%. Now that's on the registration page. Yeah.
But that's pretty. I think for cold traffic, for Facebook traffic, for paid advertisement, I think those numbers are actually not too bad at all.
Sure, and that's average too. I mean, I've seen higher. Like this morning, I was looking at the numbers. I've seen higher, and I've seen much lower as well. But that's sort of kind of in the ballpark of where I generally am.
Can I ask then, what's the conversion from those who register to those who actually attend the event? Do you know that stat?
Yes, the registrant to actually, I'm flipping over to my spreadsheet right now. So that is 49% right now, and overall, I'm just switching spreadsheets here. Mm-hmm. And overall, so it's up, because before, up through the middle of October, I was at 42%, and now I'm at 49%.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that's a pretty decent increase then.
Yes. Yeah, I'll take that.
I don't know if you have stats about how long people have stayed. The majority of folks who do come to the event, how long, who stays to the end. I don't know if you have that data.
Yeah, the 80% plus that we're tracking, since I changed things up as I mentioned at the very end of November, when I revised the webinar, I'm at around a upper 60s percentage-wise, staying till the end. So there's definitely work there I need to be doing, but it's increased a lot since I made that change. The conversion rate I was talking about, that's on cold traffic. That's people coming in from Facebook. These are not people who are on my email list already or Facebook fans or anything like that. These people, brand new people coming in. So that it's, I think you bring up a really good point there. It's really all about knowing what those numbers are so that you can, use that to make those decisions in your business, including the type of thing that you're talking about right now as far as writing copy or having a particular type of landing page, or the message in the ad as compared to the landing page, and having that be consistent. You just have to know what those numbers are so that you can make those decisions, from an educated standpoint.
So can I switch gears for a minute and talk? Have you started using? Are you using the Infusionsoft integration in EasyWebinar?
I am. Yes, I just switched over to Infusionsoft about 6 weeks ago, and I'm happy to say that today's a Saturday, and as of Monday, I'm going to be fully integrated over. So it took me a while. I took my time. But yes, I am using the integration between EasyWebinar and Infusionsoft. So I'm using all the tags. I'm using definitely the integration that we have there with Infusionsoft and EasyWebinar. And I do need to do a better job though of leveraging, because if someone clicks on one of the buttons, obviously they're a much warmer lead, and they're more apt to take an action and purchase from you. So I need to do a better job of that in setting up, a little bit different messaging in the sequences. But absolutely, I have multiple sequences set up in Infusionsoft based on the tag and the action that they take or don't take within the webinar.
Yeah, and again, there are so many different ways that you have a lot of time to kind of tweak this and work this out.
Yeah.
The good news is that those stats are in there for you. So now you know who's clicking. If you were to take all those people and put them in a campaign where you offered, I don't know, a 10% discount, not that you should offer a discount,
right.
But now you know that those people, because maybe they're on the precipice of purchasing.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point there as far as how people can leverage Facebook ads in regards to what you're talking about. So basically, you place an audience pixel, a remarketing pixel, if you will, one of Facebook's pixels, onto the event page or the actual webinar page, and you can start pixel on the thank you for purchasing page of your product, and you can create an audience out of people who came to your webinar but then didn't actually purchase. So you can serve ads to them with some sort of a message that that's relevant to your what you're marketing on what you're sharing on the webinar, and also what you're marketing on the webinar too, so that you can use the retargeting on Facebook to your advantage as well. Just simply by a couple of it's only one pixel, so you place the pixel on both of those pages so that what, I'm targeting an audience who came to my webinar but they actually didn't end up purchasing. So it's another opportunity to get in front of them. Really powerful.
Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.